So what's going on? My name is Marwan Ba, and I'm here with my wife, Kauthar. Kauthar Ba um, recently asked me to teach her about real estate, and I thought, well, why don't we just record this so that we can share with the community online? Kauthar, do you want to say something? Say hi to the people.
Hi everyone, hope you enjoy this session. My husband teaching me more about real estate since he is a teacher himself. So let's go.
you, you don't look excited to learn about
I
real estate.
am. I am actually.
this reminds me of that guy with his wife,
Okay.
um, Max Maxwell.
Maxwell and May. Yeah.
They real estate gurus and social media guru. They're like my role model. I want to be like them when I grow up.
Really?
Yeah, why not?
I didn't know that.
The guy is a real estate guy, a pilot. He's married to an
Mashallah.
Arab. Oh, when they
Just
married
like
a,
you.
I'm not a pilot.
No, I mean like married to an Arab.
Yeah, that's true.
Half. Not.
Not full. Huh?
Yeah, I'm
You
a
only want
hybrid.
a hybrid.
Mhm.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about some real estate. So this is going to be a series of real estate sessions. And this is obviously my first time teaching real estate online. I have no idea exactly all the do's and don'ts or where
On
to look at.
camera.
Right, on camera. That's what I mean. Like,
Yeah, cause you already like you taught online, like you had like Zoom
yeah,
classes and stuff.
because of the pandemic,
Yeah.
But that was interactive with me and the online students. Whereas
Mhm.
this is just you and I having a conversation, and we like have an audience online that's going to be watching it at a later time, and we got to figure out whether I'm supposed to be like looking at the camera or looking
I
at you.
don't know. I'm just sitting here like, do I look there? Do I look? Where am I looking at? Do I look at you? But anyway, excuse my blanket. We live in Massachusetts and it's really cold out here. So
It's snowing outside, by the way, but that's
yeah.
cool. So, a little bit about me, I guess, an introduction about me. So, my name is Marwan. I've been teaching real estate for almost 20 years, since 2007. I teach real estate agents and brokers how to obtain their license. And I've also been doing real estate investments since I was 19, right after the military, literally after the military. Started doing real estate back in 1999.
I
Man,
wasn't born yet.
oh, please. Okay. So I thought that we should start with probably one of the fundamental things about real estate. We're gonna start the we're gonna start here for you because you're not starting from scratch.
Why not?
Well, the reason why you're not starting from scratch is because you already have real estate properties. So I'm trying to teach you on how to build it from where you are.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. Because if even if you didn't have real estate properties, I think starting from this point would be a good place to start.
Mhm.
So real estate is a very complex and very expensive endeavor or hobby or whatever you want to call it. So even if you're going to do this part-time, full-time or whatever, it's a extensive and expensive activity. So the best place to start is to build a team. What do you think?
No, I was gonna ask you a question.
Go
Should
ahead.
I look at you or do I look at the camera?
you can look you can look at wherever you want. You can look at the
Sorry,
camera, you can look at me.
because we are doing this for me and for them as well. But if we're looking at each other, there's no like, I don't know. I'm confused. So do we look there? Should we both look there?
No, let's have a conversation. Forget about them right now.
Okay.
Yeah, let's forget about them. I think I think your focus should be about you learning.
Okay.
I think your focus should be Ignore the people. Don't try to entertain the people. Pretend that they're not there, and then let's talk.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, you have to like go back and forth.
And we're not gonna edit this part because we want you guys to see the behind the scenes too.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So I thought that we should start with building a team. Okay.
Mhm.
So because real estate is an expensive and complex endeavor, it, it requires a lot of moving parts to be pulled together.
Mhm.
The best place to start on a real estate that does not make you lose your mind, that does not make you um, pull your hair and stress out, is to not do it by yourself. That's the easiest way to start.
Mhm.
An average real estate transaction in the US is about $400,000. That's the average. I think that because of the pandemic, that has gone up a little bit. It used to be like 325,000 was the average price of real estate in America, but I think right now we have broken the $400,000 mark.
Mhm.
So $400,000 is a lot of money. I mean, most people, the average income is about 50 grand. So most people have to work for 50 years. I mean, for 10 years to save without spending a single dollar to save that 400 grand. Now, if they're spending and living, it takes about 30, 40 years to save that kind of money for an average person. So it's a
Mhm.
very expensive endeavor. So I think that the best thing to do in real estate and the easiest way to get started is to do it by building a team, right?
Mhm.
So if you have a team that you are working with, it's much, much more pleasant, easier, less stressful to start real estate and to do it as a team. So I have a little piece of paper with bullet points that I thought we should start with. All right?
When you say a team, you mean like a team that's like helping you build the business, or the team as in like investors?
That's a very good question. So, and that's actually bullet point number one,
Wow. Mhm.
define your team and its purpose and its goals,
Mhm.
right? So, that is a very, very good question and a very good place to start. The way that I would say to define your team is for the purpose that you particularly have. Real estate is very wide. You can be a passive investor, you can be an active investor. You can invest in syndication, you can invest in REITs, you can invest in single family, multifamily, commercial. You can invest as part of a small partnership or joint venture. And we're going to talk about all of these things as we go through this journey together. But
Okay.
you can define your team based on the purpose that you're trying to get. So, suppose that you are interested in buying single family houses to rent out or to do Airbnb,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
The teams that you need to build will fit that mold because that's your purpose. But on the other side, if you wanted to invest in real estate, suppose that there's a woman out there that's a single mom. She doesn't have a lot of money. She doesn't have a lot of knowledge. Then perhaps her strategy and her purpose may not be to buy a bunch of single family houses and become a landlord or do Airbnb or those kinds of things. Her team will look different than your team. But nonetheless, both of them need a team.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the first thing you have to do is basically define your team, its definition. You have to define it. You have to create a purpose for it, and then you have to set goals for that team, right?
Mhm.
So let's assume that you and I are married and we're trying to build our real estate portfolio. We need a team, and this is what our team is going to look like. Number one, if we don't have a real estate license, we need a real estate agent.
Mhm.
Number two, if we don't have cash, we need a finance money partners, mortgage lenders, mortgage brokers, people with the money.
Mhm.
Number three, or the third person, we need a real estate inspector or home inspector or a builder, developer, contractor, somebody that knows the structure and the soundness of homes.
So the real estate agent it just is just because of the license.
It's the license, it is the ability to have access to the market, it is the ability to have what's called pocket listings, listings that don't go on MLS. It is the ability to find deals that you may not come across your desk. And that real estate agent does not need to be one person. It could be 4 or 5 people in different offices in the markets that you're interested in investing.
Because I was thinking, like, instead of getting a real estate agent, you can just take the real estate course and then get the license.
Absolutely, you could. But all of those things have to define your particular um, time frame, time schedule, and things like that. So we're building a team that would benefit the things that you have based on your position. If you are working and you have a full time job and you already have a lot of time committed to it, you may not have the time to get your real estate license and to do the real estate work yourself. But if
Mhm.
you don't have a job or you do have the time,
Mhm.
in states like Massachusetts, for example, it's only 2 weekends course that you finish. You take the exam and you become a licensed real estate agent. It might be a good investment to get your real estate license, but you still need to go through a learning curve, a lot of time to learn how the real estate works in order for you to feel comfortable enough to start investing in real estate yourself. However,
Mhm.
if you are an average mom and pop, you don't have a real estate license, it might be easier just to have a real estate agent as part of your team.
Okay.
So if you have a real estate agent, you have the money people, you have the structure and contractor side of things covered, and then you have an attorney on staff, or not on staff, but on retainer, I should say. Then you have a good place, a good foundation for you to start your real estate investment team. Whereas if someone else was not looking for that single family, that multifamily type of real estate project, another person might say, okay, well, I need a lawyer first. I need an accountant, right? So
Mhm.
that if I find deals out there, these people can help me analyze, evaluate, read, and proofread the contracts that are going to be in place for me to invest in those syndications or in those REITs.
Mhm.
The CPA, the certified public accountant, or financial advisors can tell you the implications in investing on those kinds of things and what routes to take. So, for example, some people might have what's called a Roth IRA. It's a retirement account that they can transfer their money into real estate syndication and real estate investment trust. And as long as they're not touching the money, that will grow faster than, say, leaving it in the company stock market or the company contributed stock or whatever. So there are teams that you need to have, and those teams needs to be identified by your strategy, your purpose, and your goals. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
But either way, no matter what you're doing, because real estate is such a an expensive, such a time-consuming endeavor, a team is the best way to start. So you need to build a team, and you need to build relationship with those people. They need to understand your goals, your wants, your needs. They need to understand your position, and they need to understand to make sure that they're guiding you correctly. Now, the other thing that they need to do is they need to be knowledgeable on what it is that you want to do. For example, not all lawyers specialize in real estate.
Mhm.
You need to find an attorney that specializes in real estate. Not all accountants specialize in real estate. You need to find an accountant that specializes in real estate or knows the implications of real estate. You don't want to be sitting in a situation where you say, okay, it's time for me to upgrade, and then you sell a house, and your accountant does not know that you need to do a 1031 exchange. 1031 exchange is the ability to transfer the proceeds or the profit from one transaction to the other without paying tax, right? So
Mhm.
if your accountant does not know that, it doesn't mean that it's good or bad. It just means that he's not a real estate guy. And that could cost you up to 25% of your profit. Simple things like that are important when you're building that team to make sure that your person that is on your team can assess those risks for you.
So basically, the 1031 exchange is when you own a house or a property and you want to sell it, regardless whether it's commercial or residential, right?
That's correct.
And then you want to sell it to buy another one, so you just sell it and transfer that money to the other property, and that's why you don't pay the tax.
That's correct. And that's called the deferred exchange. The 1031 is just on an investment property and it's done on a like kind exchange. So if you're going from residential to residential or commercial to commercial, or you're doing rental to rental or something like that, but you can't live in that property, it's an investment property, and you're selling that property to upgrade or to downgrade. Now, there's a boot where if you're downgrading and there's a profit or portion that you're getting back, you'll pay tax on that. But I am not a CPA, so consult your CPA.
Okay.
That's for you guys out there. Um, you have to identify the roles and responsibility of each team member, the roles and responsibility, to make sure that everyone is held accountable for the things that you hired them to do, right? And then you have to determine the structure, how big, how small, how fast you want to grow, how slow do you want to grow, how steady does it have to be, or vice versa. You have to go through a process to recruit these people. And some of the best way to recruit some of these people is to join like associations or National Association Realtor or real estate investment clubs and those kinds of things. And you can partner up with people in those clubs that are looking to grow like you are, or that are maybe in the same position that you are in, or maybe that are a little bit ahead so that they can mentor and guide you so that you don't make the same mistake that they have. But joining those associations, those groups, and those clubs can guide you very, very well. And it also avoids simple mistakes that you will make or that they've made that they can help you avoid making. Now, the thing about this is that you have to be careful when you're taking advice from people because an advice is only worth as much as you're paying or as much as you have at risk for it. So if I join a club and I'm not paying anything for that advice might not be the most worthwhile or best advice for me. So what I'm trying to say is don't hesitate to pay for a mentor is what I'm trying to say. All right? So make sure you interview them, make sure you have set clear goals, expectation, make sure that they can meet those goals and expectations, and make sure you have assessments and threshold and things that they have to meet, standards that they have to meet to make sure that they can deliver and provide the things that you need, right? Now, so I said that you need a contractor, you need an attorney, you need an accountant, you need a real estate agent, you need an appraiser, you need not an appraiser, but maybe a home inspector.
Lawyer.
I'm sorry?
Lawyer, did you mention
Yes,
that?
yes, I already mentioned a lawyer. You need a lawyer, but you need like a good team. Now, some people outsource certain activities. For example, some people outsource the shipping or the real estate research. So you can outsource that to teams in, the Philippines or India, whatever. You can use technology like Drive for Dollars and figure out what property is available, who owns it, and all of those things. A lot of those things can be outsourced. But I think that things that can't really be outsourced is how to structure your team.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see what else. Um, while we are on the subject of building a team, probably the most important thing that you have to always remember when you're dealing with a team is that the most important thing to deal with a team is to do it in writing. First rule of real estate that I've learned that I was trying to part with people is that everything in real
has
estate,
to be in writing.
that's right. Everything in real estate must be in writing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in real estate. So if I'm having a conversation with my attorney, the best thing to do is send them something in writing. When I'm having a conversation with my accountant, the best thing I have to do is send it in writing.
You know what I remember?
What?
The cartoon that we just watched like 2 days ago. Nanny McPhee. And the coach is like, I have it in writing. I have it in writing.
Don't come in the kitchen. I have it in writing. That's right. Do not,
Okay.
do not, do not minimize that. Having something in writing is extremely, extremely important in real estate. It's probably one of the most important things in real estate. Have everything documented.
Okay.
That's very important.
So it could be like as a contract, it could be as a message, email, doesn't matter as long as it's in writing.
Does not matter. Just send it in writing. Make sure you get a response in writing. You can have a conversation with your CPA. You can have a conversation with your attorney. You can have a conversation with your contractor. You can have a conversation with the real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
Conversation via phone, conversation in person. But when you go back to the office and you go back home, or you're like driving away, not while you're driving, but while you're driving away, remember that you need to stop somewhere and send something in writing based on the conversation. Writing is the most important thing. Statute of fraud says that nothing can be enforced, or in order for it to be enforced in a court of law, it must be in writing. In order for it to be enforced in a court of law, it must be in writing. So make sure you send something in writing. Okay. Let me see what else. Communication is important. Honesty is incredibly important. Real estate is an extremely expensive thing. You have people that are dishonest. A small thing is going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So honesty is really a big deal.
But that's a tough one. How can you tell?
How can you tell if someone is honest?
Yeah.
You can't, I mean, at the beginning, on the offset, you can tell someone is um, honest or dishonest. But as you go through the course of business with them, you will learn to trust them or not to trust them.
So it's kind of like a trial and error thing, right?
It is. And maybe give them a responsibility of stuff that are not uh, as expensive or as detrimental at the beginning until you gain their trust. Here's something that Max Maxwell again, I love the guy with his wife. He told his wife that if he finds out that a guy has cheated on his wife, he'll never do business with him or something like that. That was on May's Vault, right?
Yeah.
So the point of that
But that
is
was not Max. She was having
a
a
conversation.
podcast with someone
No,
else.
I'm saying that her husband told her that, and then she told that on her
Oh yeah,
podcast,
yeah,
right?
that's true. Yes, I remember.
So the point of that, the reason why I love that, the point of that is that if you know that someone will be dishonest with um,
Their
with
partner.
with with their partner in life, with their significant other, what makes you think that they're not going to be dishonest with you? If they're going to be dishonest with an invoice, or they're going to try to scam a subcontractor, or they and there are ways that you can do this. You can ask for referrals. You can have conversation with other people. You can see their who are their subcontractor or their contractors. Who have they subbed for? What are the reviews are that are online? You can have conversation, exchange. You can tell stories. You can do whatever it is. But there are ways for you to exchange with someone to figure out if the person is an honest person or a dishonest person. If the person is dishonest, know that you're not going to be an exception to that rule. Know that you're not going to be spared if an opportunity presented itself where the person, if they're dishonest with you, they'll make out better. If that's what you find, the best advice would be to walk away from that partnership, right?
Mhm.
So, honesty in this game, because it's a high stake game, is important. When you find someone, even if they're a little bit more expensive, find someone that's honest, that has integrity, that is punctual. Time is really important. Punctual on the things that they say they're going to do, and they do it. On the promise of a deliver kind of people, because those people exist. Those are the people you want to like.
You
Hold
say
on.
that, I remember contractors and how
Yes,
hard it is to get
contractors
really
sometimes are
honest
very, very
contractors.
difficult to work with.
Yeah.
They're very, very difficult to work with. A lot of contractors, the way that they work is that they will start a particular project while they're still looking for their next project when this one is done. But every single person that hires them expect them to start right away. So what do? Because they already have this one unlocked, they'll drag this one while they start the other one. And you can have a contractor that will drag 3 or 4 projects at the same time, locking them into a contract, and then trying to juggle the 3 or 4 projects at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are aware that once this contract is done, if they don't have another one starting tomorrow, they're wasting their valuable time. So what they'll do is they'll start the next one while this one is not even finished yet. Right? They'll take on 3 or 4 projects. But as a real estate investor, that is not something that you can afford. Because if your project is late by even a single day, it costs you hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars. So let me give you an example. We had a project in Dorchester, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we had a project in Massachusetts, Boston, Dorchester. That project was supposed to take 3 months. The project cost 750 grand, and it's a hard money loan where 12% on monthly payment was 10 grand a month.
Mm-hmm.
We hired a plumber, and the plumber dragged the project by 3 grand. The total budget of the project for the plumber was 30 grand. Because we had to carry that building for 3 months while trying to work with that plumber, that project ended up costing us, along with the work of the plumber, 60 grand because we lost $30,000 for the duration of the month that we were waiting for him, plus the $30,000 that he was due to him.
Mm-hmm.
So we lost 60 grand. So if our profit margin was 100 grand, we just lost $30,000 out of that profit margin just because we were waiting to work with the plumber. Integrity, punctuality is extremely important. So, but there are ways that you can assess those things. And no matter how good someone is at this industry, a lot of moving pieces are dependent on third parties. So you don't control every single moving piece in this thing. The only thing you can do is plan for the worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. What else can we talk about building a team? Communications. We talked about that. You have to remember that you always have to look for a way to grow that team as you move along the scale. Your team needs to change. Your team needs to be more complex. Your team needs to be more knowledgeable in the way that you're growing your thing. People that manage $0 to $100,000 portfolios are not the same skills, talent, knowledge as people that manage $500,000 to 10 million or something like that. It's not the same type of $10 million to $100 million kind of thing. The need grows even where you get the money changes. So
Mm-hmm.
you can go get a loan from a local credit union, but most credit union has a cap per individual of $2 million, for example. What happens if you're now trying to do a real estate project that's going to be 5 million? That real estate finance people are not going to be able to help you out. You have to remember that you have to keep evolving, and you have to keep evolving your team, right? Plumbers that do projects on 1 to 4 family needs a different set of skill and knowledge. If they're doing projects for 5 and higher, that becomes more like commercials. Electrician that does, or contractors and carpenters that does construction of a single family or 2 family. It's a set of different rules and regulations in most states when you go above 4 families, and that becomes commercial. Fire, smoke, carbon monoxide, all of those things, the rules, the way that the house is set up, the way the doors are, the way that things is set up is different. So that as you grow your real estate portfolio, the need of your team change, the skills of your team needs to change, and the more expensive it becomes for the quality people that you have to spend money. But because of the economy of scale, the cheaper it is per unit.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So even though they charge you more, but when you divide that price per unit, the price drops,
Mm-hmm.
but it becomes more expensive. So you have to remember that. You have to have real clear solutions for conflict within your team. Have some sort of arbitration built into it. have certain agreements where they have to comply with the arbitration, whatever it says, whether you are right or whether you're wrong. Have arbitration set up into the thing. Let me see. Have ways that you can set up performance if someone does not meet and exceed your expectation. Make sure you get rid of them. Be quick, get rid of people if they don't meet your expectation because time is money in real estate, and that's very, very important. You have to be able to provide feedbacks and things like that. You guys have to have a similar kind of like goals, vision, direction, and all these other things. Those things are really, really cool. And you have to have a clear outlook and make sure that the team knows where you're headed so that if they want to stay with you, they need to evolve, they need to learn, they need to like grow as you grow. But I think that the most important thing, I honestly believe that the most important thing for someone that is aspired to be a real estate investor is to have a proper team that can help them attain that goal. Because real estate is one of those things where, sure, one person can build a house by themselves, but it's going to take them 10 years doing it by yourself versus someone that's building a house with 6 or 7 other people. You, the scale is just much faster. It's I think best way to think of it is it's asymmetric. So it's like it like compounds a lot faster when you're doing it with someone else than when you're doing it by yourself. Cool?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you.